So, Kate, who are we? Wait. I really want to be the one to cancel
No,
this
no, no,
week's
no, no, no,
canceller.
no, no, no. You can't take this one away from me.
Oh my God.
I've been waiting my whole life for this.
I think that's what I said on the podcast. Okay, I think you can have the honors.
Thank you. I was
So,
ready to get up
Kate,
and leave.
oh my God, oh yeah. Ooh, Cancel Me Daddy fight on YouTube.
I was going to walk right
Subscribe.
out that door with the Cancel Me Daddy sign on it.
Kate, who are we canceling today?
We are canceling Bari Weiss with extreme prejudice and very much enthusiasm.
Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum.
So, Christine, it's been a minute since we've recorded. How have you been doing?
I'm good. I'm back from 2 weeks in Italy, as you
I'm
know.
so fucking jealous.
Yeah. We had not traveled internationally for quite some time, the exception of 48 Hours in Liverpool for Bruce Springsteen. And it was really nice because it was a part of Italy where my family is from. So I felt really connected there. And traveling with a toddler, it was pretty good. I did like 9 out of 10.
Well, I hit up the local No Kings protest this week, and it actually gave me a lot of hope for the future of America in a way that I haven't felt in a while. And if folks want to check that out, it is on my newsletter at burnsnotice.com.
I'm happy to hear this, particularly because Italy did invent fascism in its modern form.
So it's your fault.
Yeah, so I'm glad that maybe staying here and fighting ain't so bad.
We have a great show today. We have our favorite guest, the Cancel Guncle himself, Michael Hobbes. It's his first appearance since we did that election episode, which, we heard at the time a lot of people found a lot of comfort in. It was just us hemming and hawing and processing our feelings. And we're going to do the same now that, the TV news is being destroyed.
Yeah, and it's been almost a year since the election, so I think it will be a really interesting update for everyone to hear what he has to say with us.
I want to get into the interview with Michael Hobbes, but first, if you like the show and you appreciate it, the best way you can support it is on Patreon. And you can get early access to our episodes and access to our Discord as well. Just go to patreon.com/cancelmedaddy, and we would really appreciate your support.
Patreon me, Daddy.
Hey everyone, I'm Katelyn Burns.
And I'm Christine Grimaldi.
And you're listening to Cancel Me Daddy,
the show where we take a closer look at all the panic around cancel culture.
With thoughtful analysis.
And verbal shitposting. Joining us today on the podcast is Michael Hobbes, co-host of the If Books Could Kill and Maintenance Phase podcasts, and the Cancellation Guncle. Welcome to the show, Mike.
I'm so bad. Wait, I was just about to say I'm so bad to be here. I'm so glad to be here with my little nieces. My little What are you guys to me?
That works for me.
That works. Yeah, that works for me.
Well,
my little godchildren.
The Cancel Daddy is no longer on the show because that was Oliver.
Oh yeah.
So we need a Cancel Guncle now.
Yeah.
You need a whole Cancel Brady bunch. You need the whole all 9 squares. Roll for everybody.
Can I be the Cancel bitch as wife? Oh, it's so good to have you on the show. It always feels like kind of a soft reset every time you come on the show.
Yeah, every time somebody who sucks gets more power in America, I'm like, well, time to go be the Guncle again.
I was gonna make a joke about you being like all of my female friends' favorite podcasters.
Oh, really?
My college roommate listens to this show. Shout out Tony. And she loves your shows. So she was always excited.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah.
Okay. Always excited when you're on.
I love being on here. Thanks for having me again.
So, at some point we should have you on to talk about something like happy or good.
Yeah, we're doing I was going to say we're doing like a Eurovision episode, but Eurovision's also gotten kind of dark this year. So
Why can't we have nice things?
For the reasons we will discuss in this very episode, I imagine.
Yes.
So we are having you on to talk about America's journalist, Bari Weiss.
America's only journalist. America's best journalist. The only one telling the truth in America now.
Not the journalists we need, but the journalists we definitely deserve.
Yeah, good God.
So Bari Weiss, God, where do we even start? the reason we're talking about her is she was recently appointed the editor-in-chief of CBS News.
Hmm?
And everybody on Blue Sky has been complaining about this now for a couple weeks.
True.
So we thought we'd have you on to talk about it. Of course, you and your co-host Peter of If Books Could Kill did an episode about her recently, which
Fantastic.
I loved.
It's very funny that like we barely scratched the surface. And then last night I watched John Oliver's segment and he also barely scratched the surface. It's like there's so much that you can talk about just the sheer cynicism at the heart of her entire journalism career, right?
Yeah.
It's like somebody who's basically failed upwards. It's somebody who's achieved this remarkable success in a remarkably short period of time without ever producing journalistic work that is good or robust or interesting or true. It's someone who has just cynically wormed her way into the highest echelons of American intellectual life while never saying anything particularly smart and at the same time lying to your face about what she is doing the entire way. It's like it's a very like sad American story.
Yeah.
And this made international news, correct? Because I heard about this on a vacation. I was out of the country for 2 weeks in Italy, the land of my ancestors, where fascism was invented. And Michael, tell us where you're beaming in from.
I am in Paris at the moment.
Wow.
Kind of randomly. And I don't think anybody here has heard of her, thank God. But that allows me to then explain it in great detail.
Did your group text go off? Yeah.
I love being with offline people. I'm just like, okay, if you now have 2 hours, let me walk you through it.
Get a baguette, you know.
Well, yeah, I had to explain to my mom. I was like, look, like you have been a viewer and reader of CBS News your entire life, and now you can't trust them.
Yeah.
Because of this.
Yeah, we're going to get to this later, but the thing that frustrates me the most about this is that we now have to sound like crazy people every time somebody says, oh, I read on CBS News. We have to be like, well, actually, I don't know if you know this, but CBS News has been taken over by these like right-wing forces and it's like completely deranged now. And then you sound like a whack job.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but like Newsweek was bought by like a right-wing
I know. Their articles are
many years
so
ago.
Weird.
But like people like normies don't really know this.
Right.
You'll oftentimes hear from people like, oh, I read in Newsweek. And then you have to be like, actually, Newsweek is basically just like Breitbart at this point, and it's not really credible. But then most people still have this residue in their mind of like, oh, Newsweek is like a real magazine. So like it just makes you sound weird and conspiratorial. But like these things are actually factually happening in America.
I think there must be like one liberal editor at Newsweek who still has like a lot of power, because every once in a while I see something that's like genuinely really interesting and good, and I'm like, how did this happen?
Yeah. It's like Jeff like sneaking it back through the CMS.
Shout out Jeff.
It's up for like 2 hours before anybody else notices.
I have to imagine that most of our regular audience is probably pretty familiar with Bari Weiss. Like, she's somebody that I've been complaining about for years. So people who follow me should have like the basics down. But like, my mom's a listener of this podcast. Can you explain who Bari Weiss is for my mom?
I will give to you the tapes of the monologues that I've been giving to French people for the last week and a half. I mean, she basically burst onto the national scene as an undergraduate at Columbia, where she is part of an effort to fire a bunch of professors for saying mean things about Israel. She gets quoted in various national media around this. She kind of bounces around to various publications. She ends up working on the editorial page of the Wall Street Journal. She's never been a reporter. She's never done like kind of real journalism. She's always been someone who has been on the management side of the opinion section, and she writes occasionally. So if you go back to her author page at the Wall Street Journal, you can't find that many articles. She didn't publish that many things, but of course they're all along the same lines as the slop that she produces now. It's like, oh, the left has gone too far on this. If only the left would remember its core values that they've abandoned, blah, blah, blah. It's just like wokeness has gone too far. She has her first instance of transphobia, I found, in 2013. So she's very early on this.
First instance of transphobia sounds like some sort of illness.
She's interviewing Katelyn, she's interviewing Camille Paglia, and she says, no subject gets her going more than when I ask her if she really sees a connection between society's attempt to paper over the biological distinction between men and women and the collapse of Western civilization.
Of course.
Well, that's like two of the worst people ever to exist.
Yeah, I know. What a melding of the minds. Yeah.
I love the fact that my bussy is going to end civilization in the West.
I'm hanging up. What was that? What was Jesus Christ.
Let it end.
I hate what the internet has done to my brain. I don't like that I knew precisely what that meant. Speaking of your mom listening now.
No, we didn't explain it. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm going to get a text later asking about that one.
Jesus Christ. And then she sort of like fails upward to the New York Times op-ed section. There's this clip in the John Oliver segment where she basically just describes herself as like an affirmative action hire of like, they were trying to hire conservatives.
Yeah.
They weren't trying to hire like people who were good at journalism or who said true things or who like developed a beat and had academic expertise on anything. No, they wanted like conservative views. So they hired her for conservative views. And then again, she doesn't publish that much. Like she publishes a bunch of stuff, but given that she was there for a couple of years, it's not an every week columnist kind of thing. But, she defends Brett Kavanaugh. She publishes an article called Aziz Ansari is guilty of not being a mind reader. She publishes the infamous intellectual dark web article. There's a really also infamous one about how she just like goes to Australia and she's like, everything's better here. And like, they don't do politics. Like, they're not fighting about politics. Then like every Australian on the internet is like, what are you talking about? Did you talk to anyone for this? You just like went and hung out on the beach for like a day and a half. So does not like distinguish herself with like the work that she is producing there at all. She ends up resigning as part of this whole Tom Cotton op-ed thing, which you guys have talked about and we've all talked about, is like so fucking tedious. But anyway, that's a whole blow up. She really tries to get fired. I mean, like she really wanted to be like a canceled person, but like she just couldn't pull it off. She eventually ends up quitting, putting out a tortured resignation letter, of course, about how she's being bullied. And it's like, it's so hard for her being a conservative, like a ultimately very conservative institution.
Yeah.
And then she founds the Free Press on Substack. It is originally called Common Sense. And then since then has just been a series of wins. She keeps getting more and more paid subscribers. She keeps getting more like weirdly fawning media attention. There's been so many profiles of her, of like the woman who's turning journalism upside down without actually engaging with like what she's actually doing, what she's publishing, taking at good faith, like all of her claims about like, I'm a liberal, but I think liberals have gone too far, even though all of her work has just been promoting right-wing causes and veers pretty far to the right. She's never lifted a finger to support any liberal causes. She's never published an article that's like, hey, this thing that liberals like is good. She's never done that, right? It's all about the excesses of the left and how like, you really got to hand it to conservatives on this one. So her entire project has been promoting the American right. And yet, every single person who appears to come into contact with her seems to like believe her that she's like a liberal who's like reluctantly saying and doing conservative things constantly.
I want to talk a little bit about how she tried to get fired.
Okay.
For a very specific reason, and I'll get to that in a second. It was very obvious to everybody with a brain who was watching her operate around that time that she was trying to get fired. But the New York Times is never going to fire a conservative commentator. Firing her would mean that all of the conservatives who complained about the New York Times being too liberal were right. And management's never going to give them that, right?
Yeah.
Because they're terrified of that label. So she goes and she quits and she portrays herself as like this martyr figure.
Jerry Maguire.
Yeah, Jerry Maguire-esque resignation letter read around the world, which was read by like 5 people on Twitter. Which, by the way, that letter is no longer online. It looks like she did not renew her BariWeiss.com Squarespace renewal.
Somebody didn't turn on auto renew on WordPress.com.
Because I went looking for it for this episode and it was not there. And I was like, that's interesting. So I bring this up because this is the phenomenon that gave this podcast its name.
Yeah, she was like a symbol of the height of the cancel culture panic.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Literally, like we founded this podcast in the wake of all of this happening.
Yeah.
And so when Oliver and I years ago, I mean, we launched in 2021, so almost 4 years ago now, 4 years ago now, 5 years ago, we were talking about forming this. We were trying to come up with a name. And I was like, we're going to be talking about these people who like, it seems like they want to get canceled because it brings them all of this attention and all of these, op-eds and interviews and all the stuff that Bari Weiss has since gone on to get. And I was like, it's almost like they have a fetish for being canceled because I'm, slightly too inappropriate for whatever space I'm in.
Right. Because the show was going to originally be called Cancel Me Bussy. Then you decided at the last minute,
hey, Michael, it's bad to be here.
So it's like, it's almost like they're saying, ooh, cancel me, daddy. And that's where the name came from. Oliver goes, shit, that has to be the name of the show now.
It's a good name.
It's a really good name.
It's a very good name.
But as you were talking, I was reminded of one of our first episodes was about this professor at Smith College in Northampton, Massachusetts, who was accused of being racist in the classroom. And it was initially publicized by the Free Press. This is one of the early stories that kind of went viral. And like Bari Weiss, this professor also tried very hard to get canceled. And
wait, was this the rapping librarian, or was this somebody else? Yeah,
it could be.
That's like one of their main stock in trades is first person accounts of like, I was canceled by the woke mob. And then because Bari doesn't appear to do any fact checking or show any skepticism of any of these first person accounts, it's like 2 seconds on Google, you find an article in like the school paper that's like, they were not fired for that. Like they groped 7 students, or there was like an ongoing relationship with a student. Like there's always something that they're leaving out of those accounts.
Yeah. So she like very clearly tries to get fired from Smith College. It doesn't work. So she flounces and writes this dramatic resignation, clearly trying to do a Bari Weiss. And she transitioned into like conservative punditry, and no one's heard from this person since.
Right. I mean, that's all of them. Yeah.
We actually did an episode on this, which I'll link to in the show notes. It was one of our very first episodes. But this is just like, this typifies to me everything that Bari Weiss does. Like the ideological dark web thing that she put together, like, was just people who see themselves as victims, very powerful people who see themselves as victims of like whatever culture we're in.
Right. And while writing best-selling books, selling out stadiums, making millions of dollars, getting money from Silicon Valley assholes, while basically achieving success in every way we know how to measure that, still maintaining this victimhood complex of, oh, I'm saying things you can't say anywhere, even though you're saying them everywhere constantly.
You're saying them on CBS now.
Yeah.
Dude, the happy episode that I should come back and do is us doing a fucking victory lap about how right we have been about this for years. Because I remember, I mean, from my first appearances, from your earliest episodes on this show, we've always said, like, this is a smokescreen for people who just want to get into power and promote conservative opinions and suppress like left-wing opinions. Like these people do not give a shit about free speech. Nobody has any actual like content neutral views on cancellation. They just want more conservatives in public life. And like, what are we seeing? These people are in power. And like, are they moving to like radically help people that have free speech problems? Are they tamping down on like government restrictions on free speech? No, they're defending government restrictions on free speech. These people do not give a shit about free speech. The whole cancellation thing was completely fucking fake. And it was all transparent the entire time. Like 3 minutes on Google, all of these stories fell apart. There never was like a free speech crisis on campus. There was never a crisis of cancellation that was completely ginned up garbage. Cancellations are not a left-wing thing. They are something that happened on social media across the ideological spectrum. We were fucking right about this the entire time. And it's still the people that were the most wrong that are still just like delivering the same opinions in the same fucking outlets about it. I will die mad about this.
I mean, like, to your point, I think when she called herself like some sort of diversity hire, which she then goes on to slam DEI many times. So what the fuck? But when she calls herself a diversity hire for the New York Times with her, not conservative viewpoints, there is a trend in legacy media that's gone on, you know, since these earliest days of Bari Weiss being out there, of hiring people with conservative viewpoints to try to attract more readers, to try to attract better sources. I mean, we saw this at the New York Times. And not just on the opinion pages, I mean like reporting staff. Like I could never get a job at the New York Times based on, you know, places I've worked and things I've said. But if you came from a conservative outlet, you wouldn't have that problem. The Washington Post had a health editor whose mother-in-law testified against Ruth Bader Ginsburg in the hearings in like the early 90s when she was up for the Supreme Court nomination. And like ran all of these like anti-abortion things, never disclosed it. There was like some Twitter thread that we can link to in the show notes. These things were never disclosed. And she came from like the Washington Examiner. So she brought all of those sources with her. I mean, this is not new. It's just blatant now.
Well, this is what's so bizarre to me about the entire Bari Weiss project is not just that she's doing it, but that it seems to be working. She has this whole thing with the free press where it's like, these are opinions you can't get anywhere. And objectively speaking, you get them everywhere. Like you get them in the New York Times, you get them in The Atlantic. These appear from like the highest levels of people who run think tanks, from philanthropies, from elected Democrats. Oftentimes it's kind of the woke left has gone too far. The center-right views are like, oh, you might not like them, but they're secretly correct. This is everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's the opinions you can't get anywhere, but now it is shaping the news coverage.
Right.
It's shaping entire institutions.
Right. And you have to like reach out to these people. Like we've heard from the people who are correct, but what about the people who are incorrect? We need to hear from all sides. Like it's this completely denuded understanding of what diversity is or what like hearing from all sides means. Like you should hear challenging viewpoints as a person, but those should be based on facts, right? They shouldn't be just like, I've heard from somebody who says that the house is on fire, and now I have to hear from somebody who says the house isn't on fire. That's not intelligent. That's not hearing a challenging view. Like, you need to go look at what does the evidence actually say about this. And the problem with all these conservative columnists is that, like, all of them are just constantly saying things that are not true, right? Like, Bret Stephens is still writing fucking climate denial in the New York Times. Like, that's just a false view. You're not informing people. That's not a diverse opinion that we need to hear. That's false. Like, a journalistic organization should not be treating like false views, wrong information as like ideological diversity or like a viewpoint we need to hear. It's wrong. Stand up for something.
Noted bedbug Bret Stephens, who, by the way, was hired at the same time as Bari Weiss at the time.
Yeah, and also very like transparently an affirmative action hire. It's like we need to hear from these center-right people. He's like one of the laziest people in journalism. He refuses to do any work or like try to understand any of the issues that he writes about. He just like writes what comes to the top of his head, which is kind of what Bari Weiss does too. I went to Australia and it was fun. It must like they must not have politics here.
It's really impressive when you are even more like even less interesting than David French.
Yeah, the bar.
It's a real competition over there. It's real hard to find who is the worst, who is the most annoying.
Christine here. If you're enjoying this episode, consider subscribing. We publish every other week, so be sure to ring the bell to be notified for our next episode.
So what do you see now for the future of CBS News under Bari Weiss? Like, do you think this is a project that's going to collapse in on itself, or what? Like, I want to hear your take on this.
Well, what I find so like chilling about this whole thing is that, you know, Bari Weiss is somebody who ostensibly dedicated her whole career to like threats to free speech from the left, right? This is kind of to the extent that she has a beat. It's like, ooh, a totalitarian creep among the left about free speech. But her being appointed at CBS News is an example of the government suppressing speech. It is exactly the kind of thing that she should be concerned about if she gave a shit about free speech rather than just giving a shit about promoting conservative views. So this whole thing comes out of this merger of Paramount and Skydance. Skydance is like a film production company that is owned by David Ellison, who is the son of Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle, who is like the number 2 richest man in the world, or the number 3 or the number 5. These things always kind of jump around because of stock prices, but a very rich man. And so Skydance and Paramount have been trying to merge for over a year, and this has been kind of controversial, like they needed political approval for this. And in the midst of this, Trump sued CBS, which is owned by Paramount. Trump sues CBS for libel for this insane thing where he claims that a 60 Minutes interview edited a Kamala Harris interview to make her look good.
Yeah.
Which is like completely insane that he would ever like claim this is a libel. And it's not even like, if you look at the actual quotes, they did do some editing. Like they asked a question and they edited in her answer from another question, but they're both just total boilerplate. It's like, what do you think should happen with like Israel and Gaza? And she gives like a totally boilerplate response. There's no, like, it's just a complete joke of a lawsuit. But they settled the lawsuit, and 3 weeks later, they get approval for this merger. And so, as one of the conditions of the merger is they have to appoint an ombudsman. So they appoint, as ombudsman of CBS News, Kenneth Weinstein, who's the former CEO of the Hudson Institute, like a deranged far-right think tank who was appointed as an ambassador in Trump's first administration and is like a donor to Trump's campaign, like a very clear partisan MAGA guy.
Yeah.
And then now that they've bought the Free Press, they're appointing Bari Weiss, who's also like a right-winger.
Yeah.
And it appears they're also on the hook to give, I think it was $24 million in like political coverage to Donald Trump, like positive earned media political coverage. So you basically have like a president who's using the power of politics to promote his partisan ends, like to promote him as someone who wants to win the next election. So this is just a bald distortion of like what media should be. Rather than like protesting it or like giving a shit about it, Bari Weiss is participating in it, which I just think is like the perfect encapsulation of who she is and what she actually cares about, right? You are part of a government effort to crack down on speech and to produce government propaganda. You are a weapon in that effort.
Yeah, it's interesting too because like the Stephen Colbert firing kind of came out of all of this stuff also.
Yeah.
And that was sort of a prelude to the Jimmy Kimmel controversy,
right.
which we talked about on this podcast in our last episode with Katelyn. And that felt to me like probably one of the bigger free speech stories that we've had in this country over this last like decade of panic. But but the media didn't portray it necessarily that way because that's not the type of free speech they want to crack down on, or like that the people running the papers and the networks want to crack down on.
Right. And it's, we had years of this panic of like, college students filing a complaint about a professor and the professor gets investigated, but then has no consequences or anything.
Yeah.
This was cast as this like totalitarian threat, whereas the actual government quite openly trying to police speech and get people fired for things that they say, as clear a First Amendment violation, like as you get in sort of modern history.
Yeah.
This is like a footnote or just treated as like, oh yeah, it's kind of bad. But we're not seeing like covers of magazines like portraying this as a threat. Like obviously it appears in the news, but it isn't kind of being collated into like feature stories and being cast as just a constant threat in the way that fucking campus sophomores were. Right. And I mean, I think like we're in the middle of one of the most unprecedented crackdowns on free speech, like in modern history.
Yeah.
There was that person who went to fucking jail for 2 months for a student op-ed that she wrote.
Yeah.
I mean, in all our years of covering this like cancel culture shit, there was not a single person went to jail for a single fucking day, right? You could argue some of those cases resulted in somebody losing their job, like the university administrators took the wrong decision. Some of those were genuinely like bad cases, but nothing goes anywhere near the level of the stuff that we're seeing now. And we're not seeing like 1/10 of the panic.
Yeah, but consider this. Some people on Blue Sky made fun of the way Matt Iglesias' head looks. So who can really say?
This doesn't affect me personally. I mean, I do think that like that is a big part of it, is that like pundits can imagine themselves getting canceled by like woke leftist mobs on campus, but they can't really see themselves getting imprisoned by the Trump administration. It doesn't feel real to them. I feel like that's what's behind it. Is that there's no elite anxiety about this.
God,
so like, she shouldn't have wrote the op-ed.
I'm like not elite anxiety. When we flew back the other day, I took face recognition off of my phone and deleted a bunch of apps, or at least sent them to the cloud. I don't know how much I should be admitting this, but I think that the airports have become a huge site of incarceration. And even as a white journalist, I've said mean things about the orange president. And so just in case, I don't want them to shine my own phone at my face to open it up.
What I really want to know is, did you clap when the plane landed? Did you integrate into Italian culture?
I did not.
To that extent. That is the way of your people.
Did occasionally, and I don't know if I told you this, Kate, occasionally I will cross myself before getting on a plane still.
Is that like an Italian thing?
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's like an old like Goomba like blessing for oneself.
I think
really?
I think it's a Catholic thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot on the show, how we're both like kind of tortured ex-Catholics.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys ever do the pinch fingers and go vaffanculo on a plane? That's my tribute to
do that
Italian
in my house.
culture. You are authentic.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Irish, so I just eat potatoes to honor my heritage. Potatoes from Peru.
From Peru. Oh my God. Tune into our Catholic episode where Kate cosplayed as the Pope and I was a cardinal?
Yeah,
Cardinal me daddy, that's right.
Yeah.
It's fun.
This episode.
What do you guys think is going to happen with CBS? What do you guys think the future portends?
Kate, you go first.
I can tell you what I'm wish casting for CBS. I hope it crashes and burns.
Well, what's weird about CBS is already the third place network.
Yeah.
So it's like the fact that, I mean, I don't think it's going to be more successful under her, but it also doesn't seem like that's even her goal. She's been insulated from consequences at every single stage of her career, right? She's made huge journalistic errors, none of which resulted in any consequences for her, right? She'd always be like, oh, the woke mob is coming after me. And at the Free Press, we were talking about this before we recorded. She claims to have 150,000 paid subscribers. It's actually quite small compared to a lot of other organizations. Like the LA Times has 250K paid subscribers. It's like, it's not really that impressive. And then a lot of her funding comes from donors. Like this is also a donor-funded endeavor. And it's like the people in Silicon Valley, like it's mostly this kind of endemic of this shift to the right among Silicon Valley millionaires and billionaires. These people are going to give her money regardless. So I think that if she turns CBS into like a right-wing site, which continues to just hemorrhage viewers, but also produces work that gets cited by the Trump administration, that gets, cited by our parents who say, oh, I read on CBS the other day, that basically injects more of this propaganda into the mainstream, that will be a win for her. I don't think she's doing that deliberately necessarily, but I think she's much more concerned about the kind of content that she's producing than any kind of success because she has a safety net underneath her. Like, if she gets pushed out of CBS, who cares, right? For her, she just wants to produce more right-wing propaganda.
Well, she'll still be, I assume, in charge of the Free Press. Is she in charge of the Free Press now? Has that been made clear?
I mean, I don't know to what extent, like, day to day she's in charge of it, but and sort of how that's going to work.
Is this a new role, this editor-in-chief?
Oh, yeah, you saw that she's reporting directly to David Ellison.
Right. So, this is
deranged.
Yeah. This is a whole fundamental reorganization of how CBS News operates.
Right.
At every level.
Yes, and it seems quite clear that, like, her job is as a political operative to produce right-wing content, right? And that's also part of the ombudsman. The rumors now are that they're going to clean house. Like, these mergers always have a sort of round of layoffs afterwards. Sometimes it takes a while, weeks, months, but they will probably be doing layoffs. And right now, she's already sent out a letter to staff saying, hey, let's have a chat. Like, why don't you tell me what you're working on? And you can imagine, like, anyone who's working on something like, oh, like, the undocumented immigrants are, like, really scared of ICE raids. You can just imagine those people getting let go and the people who are working on, like, oh, the left is getting real violent or whatever, those people not getting let go. The depth of cynicism of her entire project is, like, really, really shocking. If you read the kind of stuff that the Free Press is publishing and the kinds of people that she's aligning herself with. I mean, she's published numerous op-eds by Chris Rufo, and her fake university is, like, aligned with Chris Rufo quite sort of, like, formally. They're, like, joining this effort to, like, bring intellectual diversity back to higher education, which is not, remotely what they're actually doing. But it's like, she's aligned with the forces of the far right. So I can see her just being, like, very deliberate about, like, getting rid of, like, the woke leftists at CBS.
Yeah. Do you think that she knows how bad of a journalist she is?
No, I actually think one of her superpowers, and the superpower of most of these people who do this kind of punditry, is that, like, they really believe what they're selling. Like, I think she genuinely thinks of herself as, like, a liberal who is reluctantly coming to these views. And I think you found this in Naomi Klein's book Doppelganger, where she talks about Naomi Wolf, where Naomi Wolf, who's obviously, like, a complete right-wing anti-vax lunatic at this point, she will always go on stage, like, with Steve Bannon and say, like, I'm a feminist, but, and then she says a bunch of, like, anti-vax or right-wing stuff. And people think that this is intellectual diversity. Because I'm hearing Steve Bannon say right-wing shit, and I'm hearing a feminist say right-wing shit. And I think when she talks about, like, ideological diversity, if you look at her website, you see over and over again of, like, I'm a black guy, but I think the black activists have gone too far. I'm a trans person, but I think the trans people have gone too far. It's like, what she genuinely thinks that, like, this is intellectual diversity. You're getting the exact same opinion, the same examples, the same arguments over and over again, but you're getting them in the package of, like, I'm a feminist, but the feminists have gone too far. It's like a satire of what they think identity politics is on the left, right? You're just like, you're invoking your identity, even though it has nothing to do with what you're actually saying. You're using it to give yourself credibility, but then you're just producing the same fucking opinion we've already a million times. I genuinely think that, like, she does think of that as intellectual diversity.
Yeah.
And I think that's why she's so good at cultivating rich people, is because she is able to reflect their own ideology back to them as forbidden knowledge, right? Nobody's saying it, but don't you think the woke activists have gone a little too far? Don't you think the Democrats have just, like, lost a lot of credibility? She's so good at whispering this shit into their ear.
Yeah.
And I think that is because she believes it.
There's, like, this interesting divide, and I don't know if this is important or not, but there are the people who, like, really believe their own bullshit, like Bari Weiss, like Naomi Wolf, like you said. And then there are those, I don't think they do. And I think Trump might be one of them. I think Mitch McConnell is, like, the ultimate person who doesn't believe any of this bullshit, but he's just so addicted to power, and this is how you get it. I don't know if that matters, but it just occurred to me, and I thought it might be interesting.
Rare. I think like most people, like most anti-vaxxers genuinely believe that vaccines are causing autism. I don't think like kind of going after them as like inauthentic, I think is the wrong approach. I think going after them is like wrong. They're wrong. Vaccines work. They are incorrect. I think this idea that like they're all faking it or they're cynical or they're doing it for the money, I think that's actually quite rare. I think most people believe what they say. Maybe this is because I believe my bullshit. I believe all of my bullshit. But like, yeah, I mean, I don't publicly say things that I don't believe. I just kind of assume that most other people aren't doing that. I don't know. I feel like most people can kind of see through that. I mean, you can tell when Trump is doing it. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And you mentioned like her idea of ideological diversity. And we were talking before we hit record about the Free Press YouTube page.
Yeah.
And as you were saying that, like I have the YouTube page open right now. The first video that I see in my For You section, which is honestly horrifying that I would have a For You section on the Free Press YouTube page, is Brianna Wu says she didn't change, the progressive movement did.
Oh, God.
I'm trans, but the trans people are just gone too far. Like, that's real. The intellectual diversity. It's the 31st piece that you've read this week about how trans people have gone too far.
Yeah.
But this one is by a trans person. So, like, intellectual diversity.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Brianna Wu once called me a sociopath and said the state should take my kids away.
No way.
The fuck?
Yeah. Because I called her a grifter to her face.
Well,
so when she says the trans people have gone too far, she means you specifically?
Me specifically, yes.
She just say Katelyn Birds has gone too far. That would be easier.
Well, you know, all the trans people know each other, even though we pretend we don't. But genuinely, and I don't say this about very many people, but like, I genuinely think Brianna Wu is one of the worst people I've ever met. Not to sidetrack the conversation, but like...
But also, if you look at Bari Weiss's podcast, it's like a fucking circus of the worst people you've ever seen. It's like, she just did Woody Allen, right? Just interviewed Woody Allen.
Woody Allen.
He endorsed Cuomo.
Amy Coney Barrett. Yeah. This episode's called How One Man Overcame His Autism. Here's Peter Thiel.
Ooh, love it.
Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson. That's funny. Rahm Emanuel. Really... yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look at the kind of people that she publishes on the Free Press, it's just like some of the worst people alive. It's like discredited academics. It's like sex pests who are pretending that it's like the victim's fault. It's like she has no moral compass about who she publishes or any kind of editorial standards. It's like if they are saying the thing that she wants them to say, i.e. the left has gone too far, she'll just publish anything. Like no fact checking. Like infamously, she published a quote unquote whistleblower from the St. Louis gender clinic who said that kids were transitioning after identifying as fucking helicopters. It's been completely debunked. I mean, she just does not give a shit about like basic facts. And so she's in bed with the worst people.
The harmful part about that story is, yes, it has been debunked, but also the rest of the media ran with it, right? And some media, like the local St. Louis reporters, looked into it because they're like, oh, this could be a serious problem. We need to verify this. And they didn't find anything. But then the New York Times took it and like wrote a glowing profile of Jamie Reed about how she's like a renegade who's unafraid of the consequences.
Right.
And then they made a whole fucking podcast.
Which we've debunked on this podcast.
On this podcast.
Yeah.
That basically centered her view. And she comes off horribly in it. And I'm like, how could you do this podcast where like you make this person sound insane and then you also turn around and write like a glowing profile about how brave she is.
Right. I mean, that's what I think is like really her gift in public life is that she says these things that leave a residue, right? People kind of remember like, oh, wasn't there a whistleblower at that gender clinic? But then nobody bothers to like follow up. And then if anyone ever criticizes her, she's done this so many times. If anybody ever criticizes her on like basic, like you do not have journalistic ethics. I don't think that you should publish things before fact checking them. She'll be like, oh, the woke mob is after me again. Yeah. Once again, the woke mob is targeting me. And these like, especially these people who fund her, like these rich Silicon Valley people and like right wingers, they love this shit, right? Because they can immediately write off any criticism. They can slot it into this whole cancel culture narrative without ever actually looking at anything on the merits. Be like, well, sorry, what is their criticism? Like, what did this woman publish? Has it held up to scrutiny? Nobody ever wants to do that. It's like, oh, they must be yelling at you because you're like not woke enough. Like this is the move that she's done, and it's wildly successful. Like, I just before we started recording, I was reading, there's a Vanity Fair article about like her taking over CBS News. It's interviews with people who work at CBS. And the nut graph of the article is, will she be the Bari Weiss who co-founded the Free Press, the popular but polarizing website for assailing the liberal pieties of traditional media institutions like CBS News? The polemicist who began her career in the public eye with a crusade against university professors critical of Israel? Or will she bring some much-needed innovation to a nearly century-old news network, streamlining operations that insiders describe as antiquated? Will she instill fresh energy into a network whose flagship evening newscast is mired in third place in the ratings? It's like, will she do the thing she's always done?
Yeah.
Or will she do a totally different thing that she has no expertise in and does not even appear to have like interest in? Like, what the fuck does she know about TV news? Like, people still fall for this thing of like, will she continue to do what the grift that she's done at every job she's ever had, or something else? It's insane. People fall for this shit. It's so fucking nuts. Like, everyone has to pretend to be so much stupider than they are.
Kate mentioned earlier that some of the views on her articles are quite low. So, like, when we talk about her being wildly successful, is it just for herself? Or, I mean, are these viewpoints really getting to people? Are people really being attracted to them or being influenced by them? Or is it just what they happen to hear more and more because more and more of the media is being taken over?
I mean, I think these views are extremely influential, right? Because they've taken over like every elite institution. They're everywhere. New York Times, Atlantic, every other kind of credible institution of knowledge production. You constantly hear these same views from like university presidents, company presidents, right? People always talk about like polarization in this country is so bad and like the divisiveness in this country is so bad. Nobody ever talks about like the basic facts that like the right wing has radicalized in America to an extent that has not been seen in other Western countries. And like, that's the problem. The problem is right wing radicalization. Everybody talks about it as like polarization, which is both parties radicalizing to the same extent, right? Or like the left has gone off the rails and so has the right. So like these are influential on elites. And then I think those opinions trickle down. But I don't actually think that her shit is all that popular. I do think most people are smart enough to see through it, right? I mean, you go to the Free Press website and it's just like wall to wall right-wing propaganda. If they had a piece today, we're recording this on the day after the Gaza ceasefire. They have a piece today saying that Trump should get the Nobel Peace Prize. It's like they're just openly supporting Trump at this point. It's becoming much more clear from the kind of editorial slant that they have.
It makes me wonder about how Washington coverage is going to change because I think a lot of legacy media and TV news in particular is very New York centric. But now we have a real ally, somebody who Trump has said like he's thrilled like by the Paramount merger. And I don't know if he name checked Bari or not, but he's obviously thrilled that like this is going through. So how does this change how the president is covered, and then how does that at CBS, and then how does that change how the rest of the fawning press corps deals with him?
I don't know how much time you guys have spent on the site, but she only covers the sort of left-wing excesses. Like 90% of the website is like the woke left has gone too far in this. But then every once in a while she will throw in a piece about like Trump acting, you know, in the kind of very clearly, undeniably authoritarian moves that he's doing. But every single time it's framed as the left made him do it. Right? So they have a piece on the site about
left made him do it.
This insane thing where Trump is trying to like defund the Smithsonian because they have exhibits about how like slavery was bad, right? This is like a weird obsession of his. And they have an article saying like, well, it's pretty worrying that like the president would be like messing with museum institutions. But he had to do it because it's gotten so woke over the last couple years. So even when she has criticism of Trump, it's always couched as the left made him do it. Or she also has a couple articles about the Jimmy Kimmel firing where she says like, oh, well, now lefties care about free speech. They didn't care about free speech when Facebook was removing anti-vaxxers. Oh, but now you do. Right? Where it's like, again, a very clear authoritarian move, but she still finds a way to blame the left, right? She makes it into a hypocrisy argument of like, oh, you care about some violations of free speech, but not others. Which is also obviously that's obviously what she thinks. That's what I think. I mean, everyone cares about some violations of free speech and not others. But it's like every single thing, even when it's ostensibly criticizing the right, is framed around the left is responsible for this, or why is the left so illegitimate and non-credible on this?
Well, I think that's interesting framing to watch out for because it's not going to be as blatant as, you know, Trump is great and, you know, Democrats suck. It's going to be that like that more subtle framing that you're talking about.
Yeah, she also has a quote unquote fact check of when the Trump administration cut a bunch of funding to the Trevor Project, so they had to shut down their like trans suicide helpline.
Okay.
And they have like a debunking. They're like, lefties are melting down about this helpline being deleted. But then the fact check is just like, the helpline is being deleted. But that's good.
Yeah.
Like that's
okay.
They're still blaming the left, but it's like, it's not a fact check to just say that people who are upset about this are correct. They just shouldn't be upset.
I have beef with that piece because they named me specifically.
No, I know.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're like one of those like, oh, the lefties are melting down, such as Caitlin Burns. Yeah.
At MSNBC. And it's like, okay. First of all, they paid me $500. Let's everybody chill.
They always called me, whenever I show up in Fox News, they always call me a former HuffPost reporter, Michael Hobbes. Because then they can like, I haven't worked there in 4 years, but like they can link me to like a leftist institution, right? Of like, as if like HuffPost is approving all my tweets before like, I'm going to post this, Ariana. Please let me know if I can do it. But yeah, you're an MSNBC person.
Yeah, they hired one of my least favorite writers on the planet. What the hell is that guy's name?
What, Free Press or MSNBC?
Free Press. The one who wrote that article about...
The like evil twink guy.
The evil twink, yes. He's a YouTuber now.
But he's like, of course he is. I've like seen his videos as like, he destroys campus leftists or whatever over and over again. Yeah, the Free Press gays, I don't get it. The right-wing gays.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me.
Well, that's when she got up in front of, what was it, the Federalist Society? Where she's like, I'm gay, but I love lower taxes.
Yeah.
So you don't have to see me as a human because we all are going to have lower taxes.
She's like, everybody in this room wants to annul my marriage or have my marriage not be legal, but we all want lower taxes. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, have some dignity.
She was clearly joking, and it is like a laugh line, but it's also like,
I don't think
in what way is it a laugh line, Barry? It's only a laugh line because it would be so nuts to admit that. It's like, yes, officially she's joking, but it's also just accurate. Because she is aligned with like some of those anti-gay and some of those anti-Semitic people in the country. Like, I don't get the mentality of somebody who thinks that they are not going to be thrown under the bus eventually, right? Like, first they came for the trans people and then they'll stop. Like, I just don't, I don't get it, like, mentally.
Yeah.
I want to go back quickly to the Free Press YouTube page because I feel like YouTube is like a fun...
You're over there watching videos. You haven't been listening in like 20 minutes. You're just like watching vids. 2x speed. Bari Weiss destroys campus leftists.
Yeah.
No. It's Andrew Cuomo on his downfall and unlikely comeback.
Wait, unlikely comeback? Is that before the election or after?
4 months ago, so I don't know when that places it, but like...
That's so fucking funny.
He's about to get the beatdown of his life, and I'm here for it. Well, I'm just looking at it, right? And we've talked about this on this podcast before, but like the views are all over the place with this. Like, she gets interesting people on, and those videos do views, but if you hadn't heard of the guests, like, nobody watches. And I think that's fine if you're just like the Free Press, if no one watches. But like CBS News, you have to like put up or shut up. Like, eventually, like, the numbers don't lie in TV.
Right.
And you have to do ratings.
I do not think that she will be there in 3 years.
No, I don't think so either.
I also don't think journalists should like spend their careers predicting things. So like, who knows? But
why? I'm never wrong.
She has no experience like doing actual journalism and no track record of like caring about things like basic facts or like all the shit that she says that she's doing, right? She has this like statement of principle that she released when she took over, and it's like, we're finally going to let the facts lead, and we're finally going to subject both parties to meaningful scrutiny and all this bullshit that she has not done a single time in her entire career. I don't think very many people like this stuff. I don't see this as being like a successful project, although because she's not really subject to any actual accountability, will that matter, right? Because the fact that she's like a lying, like far right cynic has not affected her career prospects whatsoever so far. Right?
No, it's enhanced them.
Yeah, like rich people who love this shit have money and have power in America. And so the fact that this is working for her, I don't see why she would do anything different.
Come on, Michael, let's just do the fucking news.
If you enjoyed today's episode, like and subscribe. Ring the bell.
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Cancel Me Daddy is a Flytrap Media production, and today's show was made by me, Caitlin Burns, and my incredible co-host, Christine Grimaldi.
D. Peter Schmidt made our theme song, and Romy Tirico designed our graphics. Ads by Multitude Productions.
Our show is made possible by the incredible cancelers supporting our work, especially the members of our Canceller Hall of Fame, with the great power to cancel all of their enemies. Meg.
We appreciate your support.
Happy canceling!